Hi, this is Richard Kinky Friedman, and you are listening to the podcast Fascination Street.
Yeah! AV in your ears, that's Ambush Van giving you this audio visual down the most interesting street in the world. With my boy Steve, Fascination Street, you already know. Let's get it when you whip in the Fascination Street. What do you...
Welcome back, Streetwalkers. This episode is with Justin McKenzie from Greenhaus in Boerne, Texas. In this episode, we get a little bit of Justin's backstory, including what he learned from living in Del Rio, Stuttgart, the Midwest, what NAFTA did to the economy of America, and what it feels like to transition entire production facilities from the Midwest U.S. to Juarez, Mexico, where it created a middle class while dissolving another middle class. Justin McKenzie in this episode really focuses on economic development in the Boerne-Kendall County area, and we talk about why he created the Boerne-Kendall County Angel Network and Greenhaus, which is a business incubator located in the Texas Hill Country. And we talk about everything from where the water comes from in your neck of the woods to how important economic development networking and innovation is in general. This episode is a bit business-minded, but it's also community-minded. And we talk about how important it is to support small businesses in your area and help spur innovation and creativity, as well as economic development. And of course, we talk about his podcast, The Building Texas Show, which is available everywhere, with video versions available on YouTube. The Building Texas Show focuses on Texas innovators and startup businesses, as well as economic development teams in local Texas communities. Check it out. A special thanks to Jamie Randolph for help setting this up. I appreciate you, Jamie. And this is my conversation with founder of Greenhaus in Boerne, Texas, Justin McKenzie.
Prepare to be fascinated. Prepare to be fascinated. Prepare to be fascinated.
Well, welcome to Fascination Street Podcast, Justin McKenzie. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. Thank you for coming into Greenhaus and getting to know us.
It is 100% my pleasure. I found you. We have a mutual friend, I guess, Jamie Randolph. I guess you and her met at some sort of a function, and now here we are.
We met when she came and brought me a packet. Greenhaus is an empowered partner for Boerne ISD, for our local school district. And, it drove an interesting conversation between Jamie and I. And I think that made her think of you and that we'd probably have a lot in common. Uncommon in common, I guess.
Now I'm more curious than I was before I got here. First, why don't you tell everybody what is Greenhaus? First of all, where the hell are we?
So we're in Boerne, Texas, Boerne, if you look at the map, but it's a historically German community just outside of San Antonio, Texas, and you'd spell it Boerne. We have a fun and fascinating heritage here, going all the way back to the original German immigrants coming into Texas and building the only lasting treaty with the Native American people, and that is a relationship between the Germans and the Hill Country people. So it's a fun history. Dr. Ferdinand Herf locally is a big part of it. It's an important part because that's caused 150 years of people moving to this area for peace, relaxation, quality of life, things that we enjoy today in Boerne, Texas. But it's really been the area's history for as long as we've been here.
How did you find Boerne? Where were you born and raised? Where'd you grow up?
I was born and raised in Del Rio, Texas. I like to say a little bit of Del Rio goes a long way. Del Rio has a fascinating history with the Air Force Base that's there. But I was born there because my dad was in automotive manufacturing, and he built some of the early manufacturing facilities on the other side of the border. And through that expansion in the 90s, 80s and 90s with NAFTA, and I was in Del Rio in the 80s. I had an opportunity when his career grew. We moved to the San Antonio area as he started to travel more. We moved to Boerne, and I started second grade in elementary school here, Boerne Elementary. Now we have 7 elementaries.
There's 7 elementary schools in Boerne?
So I got here in 1989, did a couple years here, and then we moved to Europe. So when the wall came down between East and West Europe, a lot of the manufacturing assets started moving to Poland and Czechoslovakia and Hungary and other countries. So we moved over there to do that.
How old were you when you moved to Europe?
I was 9. It was the middle of 4th grade. And then we came back middle of my sophomore year of high school.
Oh, wow. So half of your life to that point, basically.
Yeah.
Where in Europe?
Just outside of Stuttgart, Germany. So we weren't military. We weren't on a base. I went to an international school all the way through 8th grade, which is a great experience. And then DOD school, freshman and half a sophomore. Patch is American Army headquarters is there in Stuttgart, Germany. So I had an opportunity to Boy Scouts and have some great leadership opportunities through the military community that's there. And then I had the benefit of being a civilian living in a rural community and experiencing this early changes in Europe. Europe changed when the wall came down in the 90s. It's very different now than it was in the early 90s. We were a Texan family moving into a small farming community. There was still some pushback for Americans to be there, but there were some kind kids that were very welcoming. I learned German pointing at things and sharing. So culturally, I got to see the world from Mexico to Europe, 34 other countries. And then when we came back to Boerne, it was a shocking difference to come back into small town Texas.
How was it shocking?
The public school system, coming out of like an international small school system into the big, what I thought was big school. And then just the expansiveness, right? I was in the southern part of the district. So for me, it's a 30-minute drive to school. In Europe, I understood why that happened. Here, I never comprehended it. And then I'll say there's a lot that happens for a student through middle school and early high school planning for college that wasn't my experience.
Here?
Here.
Okay.
So I'd never thought about college, and I graduated at 17, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to go to Texas A&M. Turns out you needed to start that 2 years ago, and 100% my fault. But it was an experience I had to learn from. So
I'm going to give some of that fault to your parents.
Oh, yeah. But they didn't have that background either.
Sure.
So my dad started on a loading dock for a company and rose up to COO of a tier 1 automotive supplier. But he did that through hard work and persistence, which you'll find that a lot of that in my story too.
Interesting. Why did you stay in Boerne after high school? What, did you end up going to a college anywhere?
Yeah. No, I didn't stay in Boerne. I went to a bunch of colleges. I enjoyed the Alamo Colleges network, got some basics out of the way while I figured out what that was supposed to look like. And then I'm a proud Texas State Bobcat, started at Southwest Texas and then graduated undergrad and had the opportunity post-undergrad to go to Northern Ohio. I'll say I did 2 winters there.
What the hell's in Northern Ohio? Where in Northern Ohio?
Norwalk, Ohio.
It's
just
not
south.
even a real place.
Yeah. Well, if you're in the drag racing community, you know Norwalk,
I thought you were going
Ohio.
to stop before you said race. I thought you were going to say, hey, if you're in the drag community.
Yeah. Well, you might know it too there. Sandusky, if you've ever watched Tommy Boy.
I mean, who hasn't?
Yeah.
They make the best brake pads.
Brake pads. And then they have
Callahan.
Callahan, yeah. And then Cedar Point is there if you're into amusement parks and roller coasters. But I was there with a contract manufacturing facility. I spent 2 years there, and then I transitioned that facility to Juarez, Mexico. Spent 4 years, maybe 5, working at Juarez at the height of the cartel wars in 2006 to 2010 timeframe. I had a bunch of experience with that. It is interesting being an American crossing the border every day in a number of different ways. And just seeing the reality of, El Paso and Juarez is almost 3 million people living in a big bowl. If you've ever stood on the side of the mountain.
I'll be in El Paso in 3 weeks.
Make sure you get up to the star on the side of the mountain and just look out. And it's an incredible view. And it's amazing that
sounds hard.
It is, but it's incredible to see the distinct line between the two countries. And it has everything to do with the light bulbs that we choose to use. The sulfur light bulbs that we don't use in this country anymore are still prevalent on their side. And so it's a stark visual of 2 very different populations right on top of each other. Yeah.
So from space, the aliens think we're crazy?
No, they know we're crazy.
Oh, well, that's good. You're, I guess, living in El Paso.
Yeah. A lot of life happened. I didn't want to be in Mexico anymore. I was walking across and having somebody different pick me up every day. And I just decided I want to come back. And I was here for my birthday. It was 2009, 2010, and went to a job fair. And I was like, oh, I'm going to go get a job.
In Boerne?
No, in San Antonio.
Okay.
But there was 3 companies hiring, and it was Lockheed, USAA, and University of Phoenix or something. I was in a suit. I had my resume, and I said, you know what? I'm going to go to the top of Main Street, and I'm just going to knock on a door until I get a job. I want to get out of my situation. And fortunately, the first door I knocked on at Sam Bio Laboratories, I met some really incredible people that are still mentors today. And a part of my story, they pulled me out of Juarez, got me here. And
how old were you when you decided to go knock on doors to get a job?
27.
You wanted to move back to Boerne that bad?
I wanted to get out of Mexico that bad.
Sure. There's a lot of other places to live. Why Boerne?
Familiarity. I was here. It was a decision that morning that I was just going to do this. My background in manufacturing at that time frame, I didn't see where manufacturing was going to be the future of my career. I didn't want to live 24/7, 365 anymore. And so I was like, where can I go make a difference? Where can I go make change? I thought San Antonio would be a really great place to be.
Why did you feel like you needed to make a difference? You specifically mentioned making a difference and making a change.
Yeah.
As part of your story. Why? Why is that important?
It's a great callback, and thank you for stopping me on it. What I saw when I moved the factory out of Norwalk was a county that when we moved that facility, it drove that county in northern Ohio to beyond 25% unemployment.
So it decimated the county.
Mm-hmm. And it had a huge impact on families and the future of work. And it was eye-opening to me. And I was a kid that grew up in manufacturing facilities around the world. I saw manufacturing facilities go into Acuña, Mexico in the 80s and create a middle class and create an opportunity for people.
So you were always on the plus side of bringing manufacturing to a city. You never got to hang around and see the minus.
Yeah, I'd always witnessed the landing of the business. I had never witnessed the taking of the business. And I think there's a healthy two-way street. But in the 90s, I think we overdid some of that movement. And I think we downplayed the importance of work and purpose to our general population, especially across the rural Midwest. And that was a spirit that stayed with me. So when I got to Stan Bio, my boss there and mentor, Richard Elkins, said, you need to go back and get an MBA. Undergrad isn't going to get you where you want to go. And so my MBA has a focus on international HR because I saw what we could bring to Juarez and lift people out of poverty, creating a middle class. I saw generations of that happen. I saw the impact. And with my executive team there, we always joked about the future of the Midwest was going to be the low-cost country of Oklahoma, which is a great Oklahoma joke. But it's a sad reality for what work looks like across the landscape of the U.S.
I don't know what that means.
If you're graduating from Boerne High School, what are you aspiring to do for work? What are you seeing in your community? But let's take it to rural Ohio or rural Kansas. It's hard pressed to see that you can stay in your hometown and find a wealth building career and really start and say, yeah, I'm going to go to college and I'm going to come back and I'm going to stay on my family land. And it's just not a reality.
Is that a goal?
I think for some it is. Not for everybody, but for some it would be.
Do you think that that is a goal for less and less people as we move forward in generations? Like I know that, like our grandparents, they would have killed to stay on their parents' land and just live there and whatever farm or have kids or whatever it is. I don't really feel that from the young people today. Is that something you're getting?
I think it's a forgotten reality for young people today. I don't think they realize that is an option. I think they feel like they have to move to the big city and have this storied life, or they have to join the armed services and do that. I think too many kids, and I feel like I fell into this for a long time until I decided to stop. Too many of us do what our parents did, and they don't see the diversity of what is possible. And my personal belief is they don't see a vision for what's possible for them. Like you can build and create anything you want. And you can do that now in Boerne, Texas, because we have the internet. You can do that in Terlingua, Texas, because you have the internet.
I don't know. Have you been to Terlingua recently?
I have. I love Terlingua.
Man, I couldn't get a signal to save my life out there.
Gotta get the Starlink.
Yeah, no shit.
So I'm passionate about it. And I grew up more when I started working in co-ops and the cooperative spirit and saying, well, yeah, if you want a great career in rural America, join your local co-op. You'll have a pension plan and you'll do this. That's not pushing innovation either. And so as we see manufacturing leaving the Midwest, what replaces it? What keeps you there? I don't think there's much. The Cabela's story is a really good one if you've never heard it, but there was a town in South Dakota that got completely wiped out when Cabela's got bought by Bass Pro Shop, because all those executives, all those corporate people that lived there, because that's where their job was, it wasn't there anymore. The whole town dies. And that's nonprofits, that's small businesses, that's the enablement.
That doesn't sound like a good story.
It's not.
You just said it was a good story.
Well, for super nerds like me, I might be.
I didn't see your cape.
Yeah. Economic development nerds.
Okay, so you're working at Stand-Bio for how many years-ish?
3. And
what do they do? What did you do? I guess I don't care what they do. What did you do for them?
So the funny timing of that day, it was my birthday when I knocked on the door and got the job.
So hold on, when you said you came back here for a birthday party, I didn't know it was yours.
Yeah, it was my birthday, and this is how I was spending my birthday, knocking on the door. It was my birthday, and the gift, I guess, and I feel bad putting it this way, but there was a person in the job that I eventually took that had made a several $1 million purchasing mistake that morning. And I showed up with a purchasing and inventory manufacturing background, and I was a good fit. And Stand-Bio, they did.
So you knock on the door, you're like, hi, I want a job, and this is my resume, and they saw that, and they go, hang on 1 second. Hey, Bob, you're fired. Get your shit and get out.
They reallocated the individual. They were kind about it, but I filled the gap.
So do you think timing had everything to do with that?
Yeah, I think timing's an incredible thing. I think you create an environment and opportunity for things to happen.
Is it that thing where luck is opportunity meets preparedness?
Yep.
Right? So like be ready when that opportunity happens, and there you were?
But trust your gut too. Like it would have been easy to say, no, I'm not going to go knock on doors. It's my birthday. I'm going to go sit in the river. And I had something in me that day saying, nope, go do this. And it's uncomfortable. It's hard. If you're looking for a job right now and you haven't tried it, it's rewarding. Even if you get a whole list of no's.
What's rewarding about all the no's? I mean, how do you know? You got to guess on your first one.
Yeah. But the exercise is the same for sales. It's the same for anything. Like the no's are great. No's are feedback. They're signals. They're learning. And the courage to keep asking the question, the courage to show up and knock on that stranger's door and have your elevator pitch. Keep trying it until it works. There's a persistence that people forget about in today's instant gratification world. Like work happens, but there's not a win every day. You're really practicing every day, making sure you're going to be ready when those opportunities walk in. When a random email from a person comes in and says, hey, you want to talk about this? Absolutely. I'd love to. I'm ready for it. If you'd asked me a year ago, I would have sweated and rolled over and said, no, you don't want to hear my story. And I'm not ready. But if you're doing the work and you feel strongly about it, listen to the internal inkling to say, push a little bit more.
I feel like you just explained the whole plot of the first Karate Kid movie.
That's the frame of reference that I was going for.
Good. Well, you nailed it.
Nailed it.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
Introducing Loom Stupid, where fashion meets quirkiness. Whether you're looking for statement tees that spark conversations or funky pieces that add whimsy to your outfit, Loom Stupid has got you covered. Join the fashion revolution and express your unique style with Loom Stupid. Visit our exclusive website at www.loomstupid.com and discover a world of fashion that's brilliantly bizarre and undeniably chic. New designs are being added all the time. loomstupid.com. Get your whimsy on with Loom Stupid, because being silly is the new stylish.
Let's get back into it.
Okay, so you're at Stand-Bio for a little while, and then you moved on to what?
So Stand-Bio got bought by a British company, EKF Diagnostics, and my boss at the time, wise man who built a great company called Data Point, where the personal computer was invented in San Antonio. We can get back to that in a little bit, but great person that just said, hey, we got bought. You're going to be redundant. Go find a job. I was lucky enough to get a phone call from a staffing agency. And I was like, oh, staffing, where you're going to place me somewhere? I didn't think that was going to be right. And they said, no, we want you to come help us because you have this background in manufacturing. This company called Texas Power Systems in Seguin needs a lot of people. Well, Texas Power Systems was the original name for the Caterpillar engine plant in Seguin, and they were trying to avoid union recognition and other stuff. So I came in on site and we hired 3,000 people to really ramp up their workforce, put it in place. And as the staffing agency, I was the supervisor for that staff for the first 2 years. And we were really changing. I mean, it was a dream for me because our conversation about a rising middle class in Seguin, Texas, they had never seen factory work, shift work. It took us 25,000 interviews to get 2,000 employees. They could pass a drug test, show up to work on time.
It took you 25,000 interviews?
Yep.
Presumably that means there was 25,000 people looking for a job in Seguin?
Yeah, or from all over the state.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't think there are 25,000 people in Seguin.
You'd be surprised.
Maybe
The
now.
county, New Braunfels, Cibolo, Schertz, the outer sides of San Antonio.
I worked in McQueenie once.
Okay, yeah. There's not 25,000 people in McQueenie.
There's not 25,000 people that have heard of McQueenie.
Yeah. Till that dam blew up.
Sure.
Everybody talked about that.
That damn dam.
So yeah, we went through a lot, and I talk about some fun experiences. I got to terminate a murderer. I got a hug from a child molester. That was a terrible situation. I mean,
so why did you terminate this murderer? Because they were a murderer?
Mm-hmm. But the interesting part of that story is I was the only job that had ever called him and had the conversation with him about why. And he really appreciated it. We had a 45-minute conversation.
About why? You're the only employer that called him and had a conversation about why you were firing him or why he was a murderer?
Why I was terminating him.
Oh.
And they're related, obviously. But
sure.
He was one of our best employees. He really reformed himself. It was a shame that happened.
So was this a person who had served his time?
He had served his time, and he's on parole for forever.
Sure.
And it had not hit our background standards, but when he was converting to full-time, it had hit another standard.
His mistake was to go full-time?
Yep. He should have stayed on as a contractor. And that was the reality that happened to him many times over. It's the reality of his life. And it's unfortunate because there are people that reform themselves, and the system is just very cold towards that. And again, my heart for people is, how can we change that? How can we look at that a little bit differently and give the grace to people that have paid their dues, that are really going to be model citizens and are committed to that and have earned a right for a second chance.
Sure.
We say that that's what our criminal justice system does, but
we say a lot of things.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's fast forward a little bit. How did you become involved in DOS Greenhaus? Well,
I built it.
I guess what is DOS Greenhaus?
Yeah. So 6 years ago, I met with the local economic development corporation and said, hey, I'm tired of driving downtown San Antonio and back out here. How do I live and work in Boerne?
What were you doing in downtown San Antonio?
Software consulting.
Okay, boo.
I know there's people, talent, ideas out here. Why isn't it out here? And so their response was great. Like, that's a great idea. How can we do that? Can you get some people in San Antonio to do it? No. But it lined up really well with, they were already getting a study done by the University of Texas, the IC Squared program. And IC Squared came in and said, hey, you're the fastest growing county in Texas. Is that sustainable? Let's do a study. And because I had asked the question and because they were very friendly, they brought me into the round table and I met a layer of our community that is business owners, investors. They've done incredible stuff around the world. And we came out of that and I took the opportunity to found what is called the Boerne-Kendall County Angel Network. Angel investors is a class of early entrepreneurial investor. You have to meet a certain IRS standard to qualify. But those accredited investors, I mean, we built a fun club that started in October 2020, meeting in the lumber yard behind Tusculum Brewery. And we pitched companies and we've invested in several. We found many. And
so it started as a group of investors, like a club of angel investors?
Yep.
So how does that work? Are you pitching the company to the investors, or are you pitching the investors to the company, or both?
Both.
Just like Shark Tank.
Just like Shark Tank. Just in a lumberyard with a beer.
That sounds exactly like Shark Tank.
But we found the people in our community. We found the people that were interested. And then we said, well, now we need a place. The Angel Network was already a nonprofit, 501c3 economic development networking group. We don't make any investments as the network. Investments would be done separately.
Right. Like, so Das Greenhaus isn't investing in anything.
No, we invest in nothing. We don't
like
take any
Justin
IP.
McKenzie is the investor, not Das Greenhaus.
Yeah, it might be me. It might be the group, but it's a different entity.
Sure.
So that does not conflict. But we collected the people, and then we said we need a space, and we had great support from our city and county. So the city contributed a building, the old Public Works building on Blanco Road.
That's a pretty significant contribution, I think.
Yeah, the mayor at the time said that it was a $3.6 million gift in triple net, and he wasn't wrong. It was a very kind and generous investment in the community and the vision of Das Greenhaus. Das Greenhaus is a 501c3 business incubator, and we wanted it to be a joint venture between public and private. So meaning we wanted city and county funding, as well as the Frost Bank, the Phil Hunke Family Foundation, GBTC, our local cooperative. We wanted there to be this environment and ecosystem of support that shows our students, that shows our small business owners and our retired people looking for a second career, that there's an environment for success here. We were on that mission. ARPA funding at the time became an opportunity.
What's ARPA?
ARPA, American Recovery Act money, so federal COVID recovery money.
Okay.
And our county got $9.2 million. It was distributed to many organizations. We were one that asked, and we asked boldly. We asked for $500,000. And it was going to give us a runway for 5 years and really let us go fast. And we got it. It was awarded. So we had a building, we had a runway, we had lots of support. We'd raised about $1.3 million total to start. And that was a huge win.
Help me understand here. So it started as a group of people who were going to invest in other people and businesses. What do you need $1.3 million for? Like, what is that money for?
To build the resource center. So it's hard to start a business. If you go to your local chamber, your local EDC, they're going to send you to the SBA, the SBDC, acronym soup of helpful places.
Sure.
If you're starting a business, you say, well, I can go to a bank and they're going to help me. And frankly, they're not. Unless you have $1 million in revenue and you're bankable in a different way than collateral, et cetera. That's not what they do. So we want to bring true innovation into Das Greenhaus. I want companies that are nascent, ideas that are looking for, hey, how do I really start my business modeling process? And I don't know what it is yet, but I have an idea. Where can I make it happen? Where can I find co-working space that's affordable to go share ideas and be in a network? Where can I find an office where I can put my 4 software developers in a room for an affordable price, have them connected to the community, but really be crunching the issue? I think in Texas, we treat venture like banking. I want to be disruptive in that thinking and really bring the idea of we're making bets on people. At this stage in investment, 1 in 100 might work out, but those other 99 are incredibly important because that might be the first of 15 failures for that founder before they really figure out what their innovation is. And we need that community. Not that I want to just keep investing in failure, but I want them to keep showing up and find resources, not always money, but resources and mentors that are going to help them get it right, or partner them with the right thing, or say, this isn't you, you need a corporate job, go do this. We have a lot of tough conversations. If you come in here and say, I want to start a nonprofit, I'm going to put a gauntlet in front of you saying why. Too many nonprofits. We have too many in this county. We have too many across the country that are duplicative services that are trying to solve an emotional issue, a traumatic problem, something you're just really passionate about. Let's put that in the right direction. And if you're truly new and novel, then let's build it. If you're not, what is the gap that we're trying to fill? How can we do it best? Where can we put the energy? So we become a lot of things to a lot of people, but it gets back to that core. Why are you doing it? Is it bringing value? And who are you surrounding yourself with to really foster success? Instead of what I think happens in a lot of cases, you try to build this in your garage by yourself. You think it's the best idea ever. You've invested $100,000 into it. And then you look up and say, well, there's 15 competitors and they're all big and I can't do this. Now you've put your family in a financial situation that's not ideal. So we do a lot of things.
How did you gain legitimacy in this space? Like, I mean, no offense, but who the hell are you?
Nobody. I don't think I have it. I'm forming it because I'm beating a drum and showing up, and because I'm surrounded by mentors, investors, and people that can legitimize and say, yeah, we've done the due diligence on this pitch and we're going to pitch it to the network and it's going to go through attorneys and lots of people. I'm in a unique role. I'm not giving financial advice. I'm not making investment advice. I am creating an environment for the right people to come together and make something happen. I legitimized it by creating the Angel Network, legitimized it again when we opened the doors to Das Greenhaus, which, to sum up the story on the funding, political change happened. We went from one commissioner's court to the other. The next court came in, wanted that money back, took it back, and our board, I was part of at the time, decided we didn't want the public fight and it wasn't going to be worth it. We thought we could do more with less.
So you were granted federal funds from the COVID relief fund or whatever, and then a new commissioner was elected?
A new judge
Was elected and then came in and said, nah, I want to need that money back, bro.
Yeah, he pulled it back, and it's all public record. The paper did a nice job of capturing it all. Pulled it back. We gave it back. We came to an agreement. They gave us 205 instead of 500, which is still very helpful. But it shortened our runway. And they did it because we did not use the building the city had awarded us. Because when we did the MEP studies, the mechanical, electrical study, we found that it would take all of our money.
Basically a building inspection?
Yeah, building inspection. It would take $1.3 million to modernize and permit that building. So from a fiduciary responsibility, we said we can't do that. They said, well, if you're not going to take that building, because they had first right of refusal to the same lease deal, then we're going to take our money back. We didn't fight it. And that's how we ended up in the building you're in today.
How much of a heartbreak was it in the moment?
Oh,
like now it
destructive.
Seems like a great decision, but that moment, how close were you to giving up?
It would have been easy to give up.
Why didn't you? That's one of the things that I like to find out. Why people don't give up.
Spite's the wrong word, but something to that effect. We'll call it persistence. What happened was
so you wanted to prove that you didn't need them.
I know I didn't need them. I believe in the people we're supporting. I believe in the impact we're going to have one way or another, and support will come because we're doing the right thing. And we doubled down. We prepaid 3 years of rent on this building, came to us on a Wednesday at midnight. I signed the lease on Friday morning. We were open a month later. No construction cost. We had it full the first day.
And you had it full of what?
Subtenants and members. Like, people are clamoring. There was a need, and it immediately proved the need. Today, I've got local 2 doors down. He sits on JP Morgan's sustainability circle. He's got an innovative carbon reduction technology. So he takes wood waste, sawdust, pellets, pallets, and turns it into energy and charcoal. And that biochar restores the soil. But as you go through that, you can measure it, and he creates financial carbon credits. He's presenting to the EU Parliament, the monarchs in the Netherlands. He's a West Point grad. We met at a birthday party. Neither one of us really wanted to be at this birthday party. Our kids go to class together. They're first graders together. So we were there. Like, what do you do? What do you do? And I said, well, I have a hobby angel network, and I do this for a utility. He's like, well, that's interesting. I'm starting this, and I'm in energy. Let's talk. And we were his first to organize money in. $57,000 investment, but it's returned huge ways. And he's on a pathway to great success. And I'm thrilled. That's the story that kept me going.
Him
Yeah, Miles Murray. Miles Murray at Local. They've made a commitment to building their research headquarters here. Some of that building will be allocated for Das Greenhaus. That's the story that keeps me going.
What does that mean? Some of the actual facilities,
Yeah.
some of the space in the building?
He believes in us, the importance of building this ecosystem of support, and he wants to pay it forward to where other founders, other entrepreneurs, high school kids can come in and have a place to be challenged in a really positive way.
This is going to sound maybe greedy or like the wrong question, but what does Das Greenhaus get out of helping all these schools? I don't mean fools in a bad way. I just mean
these cats.
Yeah, these cats. What does Das Greenhaus get out of it? Like, I know DOS Greenhaus doesn't invest.
We don't invest and we don't take IP. So we have membership fees.
Okay.
It's about $1,500 a year for a company to come in and get curriculum and support, which is incredibly cheap. We get membership money from people coming in using co-working, stuff like that. We don't want anything.
But I mean, in theory, the people who actually work for DOS Greenhaus have to get paid. Where does that
We
money,
do get paid.
Where does that money come from? Those
donors, yeah. Donors and other contributors that are investing in innovation. We're doing something very different here. And I have to pause and celebrate that the Boerne-Kendall County Economic Development Corporation, which is a mouthful, the EDC, received an award in August called a Community Economic Development Award.
This past August?
Yep. And that award was across 17 states. It was given by an organization called the Southern Economic Development Corporation Council. 17 statewide EDC organizations roll up, and they awarded our community with that award because of this facility and what we're opening up, the conversations that we're pushing into rural Texas, rural America about, hey, you don't have to be downtown Austin to be thinking about innovation.
Good, because Austin sucks. Please continue.
Austin's terrible. It has been since like 1998.
It's longer than that, but you weren't here. So.
But here's the problem. Austin made the same problem in 1970 that Boerne, Texas is making today.
Which is?
Leadership says if we put our head in the sand and don't do anything, growth won't happen. And growth will happen. People are going to move here. It's a great place to live.
Oprah said so.
I can explain why in a really nerdy conversation. But yeah, Oprah, number 9 on her list.
The only one in Texas.
Because of wonderful people in our community. It's going to happen. Let's maintain and drive the growth in the right direction. Let's influence by creating a culture and an independent personality as a community that isn't just a suburb to San Antonio or Austin, depending on how you look at it. We're easily a suburb to both, but we could be the crown jewel of the investment community in Texas, the innovation community in Texas, because we have incredible people that live here quietly, and you don't never know who you're next to at the grocery store.
You know, that's true. There's a lot of famous people who live here that people don't know. I ran into Cheryl Ladd at HEB.
I've gone to church with Cheryl Ladd.
I was just like, what? Mary Lou Retton lives here.
Yeah.
Come on now. Goldberg, he doesn't live far from here.
No, Goldberg's great. And his kids celebrated in our high school football programs. And they invest in our local kids. Goldberg's doing some great stuff with our welding group. Nationally, I would say Norman Vic, everybody should know what Boerne ISD Welding is doing because they're out there beating a drum on trades and getting kids into the trades. I love and want to amplify that message, and Goldberg does that really well. Then we have the YouTubers. I mean, the YouTubers here.
Who do we have that's a
crazy.
YouTuber?
Demolition Ranch, Matt Carricker.
Yeah.
The AK guy, Brandon Herrera. Like the gun tuber side, Eli, Double Tap. Matt Best and the Black Rifle crowd. Like we have the original Black Rifle brick and mortar because they live here and they're a media company.
And the bunker branding?
Well, that's Demolition Ranch.
That's the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Matt Carricker is great. He is a Boerne High School graduate that went on to be a vet. He's the story, right? Who comes back to Boerne? Well, he wanted to. He took over his dad's veterinary practice. And that would have been a great life for him, but he started doing this kind of digital media work and really created a brand for himself. And then he saw a niche and built Bunker Branding, where he's doing the t-shirts and stickers and back-end merch for YouTubers that are wildly successful across the country.
See, I was always confused by Bunker Branding. I thought they just did their own stuff, and I was like, this is weird. It seems weird. But they do merch for other people?
Yeah.
Kind of like Sticker Mule, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay.
But they do the back end. So if you've got 100,000 followers on YouTube, and the number's probably higher now, but then they'll accept you into their creator community and they'll do your whole back end. It's famous YouTubers. It's a diverse set of YouTubers. It's an incredible business. And that's the fun people we have. But we have the original people that started big banks. We have the CFO of American Airlines. We have
Really?
Yeah, all kinds of the inventor of the Post-it note lives here.
Shut your mouth.
Yeah. I have a flight surgeon, the FAA flight surgeon that is here. He's an interesting guy to talk to.
You mean like the guy who can do surgery on a moving...
The guy that signs the pilot license for every U.S. pilot globally. So think training pilot to astronaut. He's seen some things. Those are great people in our community that are reading books to your kids at the library, that are showing up in city council meetings. Cheryl Ladd walking through HEB. Wonderful people. I sit next to George Strait in school functions every now and then, and he's the nicest guy in the world as long as you don't make a big deal out of it.
Yeah, treat him like a regular person, which is why everybody moves here.
That's why they're here.
Yeah.
And it's the blessing in our community that we get to do that. And I've gotten a lot of support in this mission of what can we do out here. And I've had these people like the ones we're talking about and everyone else, people like Jamie from Boerne ISD that have just really believed in what we're doing and made it possible to fund it and made it possible to make it happen. It would have been easy to give up.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
This episode is sponsored by Murray River Salt USA, Australia's only naturally pink salt. What makes Murray River salt so good? Murray River salt is sourced from the Murray-Darling Basin in Australia and is prized for its unique flavor, its delicate texture, its high mineral content, and it's kosher certified. Awarded for superior taste by the International Taste Institute. It's highly sought after by chefs and food enthusiasts alike. Naturally different with 2/3 less sodium per teaspoon, no dextrose, no chemicals, no pesticides, and Murray River's high mineral content not only enhances the flavor but also contributes to its health benefits. And it contains a range of trace minerals like magnesium, calcium, and potassium. This pristine saline water source has been trapped underground for thousands of years and has not been exposed to the elements until it is pumped up for salt production, where the brine is solar evaporated and crystallizes over the summer months. Murray River salt comes in a variety of options, from pouches to canisters, boxes, and even gift sets for that chef or foodie in your life. Finally, Australia's only naturally pink salt is available here in the United States. For 10% off your order, go to murrayriversaltusa.com and use the code FSP10 at checkout. Again, that's 10% off your whole order at murrayriversaltusa.com with the promo code FSP10. Remember, it's perfect for any dish, so sprinkle it on your food as a finishing salt for a hydrating boost of electrolytes, throw it in some water, and it's great for margaritas too. Everything tastes better with Murray River salt.
Let's get back into it.
I'm going to ask you some hard-hitting questions.
Please do.
You seem to be in the know about what's going on in Boerne as far as businesses and whatnot and what's coming, what's not. Where the hell is Buc-ee's going to be?
Oh, that's easy. So
Is it? Because I've been looking for 2 years. Where is it going to be?
So when you come out of Das Greenhaus and you go to the Starbucks and take a right, and you're going to get to the frontage road going towards San Antonio, you're going to take that and take the turnaround, right?
Okay.
As you take that turnaround, look to your right. All of those trees, all the way to that car dealership thing, that's all going to be Buc-ee's.
It's like where Anderson Ford was a million
where
years
it used
ago?
to be, yeah.
So that bridge that I guess is Main Street, and then that bridge goes across?
That's why they rerouted it. Yeah, it was all getting ready for that.
So that bridge going to go directly into...
I believe
Buc-ee's
that is
parking
the
lot?
model.
Like that's why there's stoplights there and all kinds of crazy shit?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. When?
2026.
Is when they're going to start or when they plan to be open?
When they break ground. And that is all, again, the delay of county politics. I mean, we had a hiccup with that in March of this year when we tried to make some changes last minute. And it's terrible for the community because it scares off people that want to come in and do projects. Have your opinion on Buc-ee's, pro, con, don't care. It replaces almost 1,000 houses in sales tax revenue.
Plus the tourism. People are going to get off the road.
They get off the road. Like
Buc-ee's is a destination. I have people in other states that don't have Buc-ee's that ask me to mail them shit from Buc-ee's.
The Buc-ee's. Yes, the downside is if you go to the one in Luling, they're paying $22 an hour to clean the restrooms. And that's going to have a negative impact on our small businesses up and down Main Street, our restaurants and service industries. But I'm sorry, that's the competitive nature of business, and we've got to figure it out. If you want to make a difference, go shop and support local. But we're missing several 100,000 consumers every day that go up and down I-10. Give them an opportunity to stop and pay sales tax. It's going to benefit your county, your school, every bit of it. If you don't understand how things get funded, start with where do you spend money? The average consumer today doesn't understand that cascading effect. Buc-ee's will be good unless you live in Minger and you're going to have a lot of lights in your backyard now. And I'm sorry for that.
I like it. I was never a fan of Buc-ee's until I went into one.
Yeah.
I would drive past Buc-ee's all the time and be like, look at all these sheep, these dumbasses. Who wants to wear a shirt with a beaver on it? Bunch of hillbillies. And then I went into one and my life changed.
Yeah. But you know the guy's name. His name's Beaver.
We can't drive past one now.
You got to stop.
We can't not drive past one.
But look at what they do well. Why is it that you can't stop? What is it that compels you to stop?
Oh, it's everything. Honestly, it started out as because we had to go to the bathroom.
It's the clean bathroom.
And they have like between 80 and 100 toilets or receptacles or whatever, urinals, toilets, whatever. And they're always clean. Always clean. There might be a line and it doesn't matter. They're always clean.
It's a place where you can stop and safely take your kids in and have a clean.
And another big part is that they don't allow 18-wheelers.
Trucks out. That was my next point. I love the Loves up the street. I wouldn't always feel comfortable stopping there at 1 a.m. with my 2 little boys.
Or your wife.
Yeah.
No, I get it. That's why Buc-ee's is awesome. Well, I tell you what, though, they never put anything on sale.
They don't have to.
I know, that's so crazy. But I mean, like, let's just say Halloween versions of Buc-ee's t-shirts. Yeah, Halloween comes and goes. They don't take one single penny off of their price.
Nope.
That's awesome.
Beaver was a recent commissioner of Texas Parks and Wildlife.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he lives in the area. He is an interesting person.
He lives in what area?
The Hill Country.
The Texas Hill Country?
Mm-hmm.
Why the hell did it take so long to get a Buc-ee's anywhere near here?
Because he lives here. Why would you want one in your own backyard? You have to realize, again, we've been a playground for the rich and famous for a long time, and that's kept our quiet little community quiet because they didn't want the disruption, the growth, and the worst part of the word, the infestation, right, of KB homes and Pulte homes, people. We're seeing that roll out here. So I think people like him didn't do it for a long time because they knew it would attract, but now it's already coming. And back to the point of you can't keep your head in the sand and expect it not to grow. Otherwise, you end up like Austin.
Let's talk about growth for a second. We're a community that has a very specific and fairly limited water source.
Yes.
You hesitated. Tell me where I'm wrong.
I don't think you're wrong. Again, it's a complicated conversation. You have to understand what is your water source. Your water source might be a pipe that comes from East Texas where there's an abundance of water, depending where you get your water from. If you're in the city utility, a lot of that water, we can say for the next 50 years, here's where that water comes from. No problem.
We can say that?
Mm-hmm. But if you're on a well and using surface water, yeah, that's a big problem. And there's some real issues. If you're in Cow Creek, I'd be very concerned. And what is Cow Creek doing? If you're in Esperanza and you don't understand, it's a neighborhood in Kendall County that thinks it's in Boerne.
It's not in Boerne?
No, you're outside. That's why it's a mud. That's why your water bill is twice as much.
Wait, Esperanza is not in Boerne?
Esperanza is not in
the one
city
on 46.
Is not in the city of Boerne.
The one across the street, basically, from a high school.
The high school is in Boerne.
Where's that line?
Right there at Esperanza. Yeah, so if you go right into like the ranches of Copper Ridge or whatever, that's city of Boerne. But if you go left into Esperanza, that is not, and that is why their water bills, they're in the mud.
Wow. I hear a lot of people concerned about all this growth and all the apartments they're building everywhere and new homes and everything. And they're like, where's all this water going to come from? And I have been like, the powers that be are aware that that could be an issue. So I'm sure that they have discussed it and taken care of it. You're saying that there is a plan. There is. No,
there's not a plan. I mean, this is my problem with civics. We had 7% turnout to our local elections in May. We had city councilmen decided by 1 vote. We had a commissioner decided by 55 votes in a primary election last February with less than 7% turnout in local. But in November, we're going to have 90% turnout on the federal elections that who cares? If you want to solve the water problem, go vote locally. If you want to solve the school problem, understand the relationship between the appraisal district and the school district. And when you get to that answer, you're going to realize how important those two entities are. And you're going to say, who's really up there representing me? I'd encourage everybody to look at that. The mayor of Boerne gets $200 a month. Why? His job is to be responsible for 2 meetings a month. City council. That's it. Our decisions are made by our city manager, and we have a very good one, Ben Thatcher. And he reports to the council, and the council makes those decisions. The county doesn't have that. The county is commissioners voted in, and they're learning. And it's a hard learning curve to understand what you can legally do, what you can't legally do. How do you solve the water problem? How do you solve the traffic problem? Who's responsible? Well, it's the county, because they own the relationship with TxDOT, Texas Department of Transportation. Civics is no longer taught in our schools. You and I wouldn't know where to go get a simple breakdown of how does the funding happen? Where does the water come from? You have to get really involved. You have to be engaged to see how some of this works. And I wish more people would pick up their head and pay attention, because a lot of things can happen and have generational impact and never run into a public vote or never run into, hey, why is that happening? And that's where citizens get mad in the moment, like the Esperanza community that's upset realizing they don't live in the city of Boerne and they have to pay an extra fee for Boerne Little League.
Were they unaware that they didn't live in Boerne when they moved in?
I love asking that question every time I meet somebody that lives there. And I will tell you 8 out of 10 that I ask don't have a clue. People that move here from Houston, I have this conversation. So I do a radio show called, a podcast show called The Building Texas Show. And I had a guest on, the president of our local cooperative. Yeah, the Little League was one, but then this recent episode, she runs the GBTC Foundation, which is the cooperative foundation. They match giving at 100%. So if you give them $100, it becomes $200. That's great for making an impact. But if you've moved here from Houston or other big cities where you have an investor-owned utility, you don't want to give them a dime. You don't think they're going to do the right thing with it. But it's such an important piece of our funding out here through the foundation, that impact. But so many new people are here and they don't know, well, why should I pick GBTC Cooperative over Spectrum? Well, follow the dollar. Get involved. Understand who's making the impact. Spectrum's not funding the Little League or the food pantries or anything else. GBTC is. In this great migration that's happened over the last 5 years, we have a lot of people moving into rural America, and they think it works the same way it worked at home, and it doesn't. If you're in rural Texas and you're served by a rural volunteer fire department, you should probably ask a few more questions, because they're not going to show up as fast. And they need you to come by the barbecue plate, because that is how they fund their new truck. It's very different than living in Houston and having an emergency service district or a bond that's going to take $25 million and build a new fire station. You have a ladder truck that can service every house in the area. We have a big neighborhood that loses a house a year because we don't have the assets to handle a 3-story house fire.
I can't believe it took me this long to talk about it, and you had to bring it up. Tell me about Building Texas. What is the name of the show?
The Building Texas Show.
The Building Texas Show is the name of your podcast.
Name of my podcast.
Now, for the first 50 episodes, which was season 1, it was audio only.
It was a radio show on Boerne Radio.
But
yeah,
as
audio
a podcast, it's audio only. And so it was on Boerne Radio?
Yep. And then I switched because I wasn't getting...
How did you get it on Boerne Radio? Because it's about Boerne?
Yeah, and the owner of Boerne Radio is a friend. We talked about it, and it was a good push for me to kind of come out and do it. A way I could go out with training wheels. And
Training Wheels as a podcast?
Yeah.
As a show? Why did you feel that was important? Why are you doing a podcast anyway?
Because the stories that I thought needed to be covered weren't being covered. People that I think need recognition and celebration weren't getting in the paper or earning the story. And so I took it and said, I can tell some stories. So I got on there and I just didn't know what I didn't know. I'm an introvert, as they would say, and I don't really want to put myself out there in the ways that I'm now really pushing myself. So it was a comfortable place to start.
Do you think you learned what you needed to learn?
No, I'm going to continue to learn a lot, and I learned lessons the hard way. It's just how I do it. But it was a great opportunity for me, and I'm forever grateful. But then I wanted more data. I wanted more impact and understanding. So I've been through 2 fifths now with the website, and I think we're going to get the plumbing right to get the show out and distributed the right way. My belief is I have a much larger audience than I can show. as anecdotally I hear from people. I've driven investments through episodes. I've made lots of moves because we just put it on tape.
But the analytics don't show it.
Yeah. And the subscription, I've got 43 subscribers on YouTube. Please like and subscribe on YouTube. I would welcome that growth.
That said, after episode 50, when you started season 2, now there's a video component as well.
Yeah, I film out in the studio. We went video, and I love it. And
where is the studio?
Out in the woods. It's a neighborhood out there, and it's a great little private studio.
So it's a studio that's like a rental studio? Or
no, it's just, it's somebody in their home, and they've got a separate building set up, and they do work for the Black Rifle and other YouTubers.
Oh, okay.
I mean, there's a kangaroo in the pasture. There's a studio in the shed, and it looks nice. Owen is a great dude, and he just makes it easy and has really pushed me to get on video, get bolder, use the clips to grow the social and fall into the whole digital marketing.
It's so time consuming.
So we've created a solution for founders that I believe in, because in today's world, you need that in any kind of business. You need digital assets. If you're a small business on burning Main Street, you should be doing more e-commerce than store walkthrough. But it's expensive. And you go to these shops and say, oh, I want a podcast. Well, it's $100,000 and it's going to cost you $10,000 a month to do all this stuff. And it's just not approachable. And I think a lot of that's bullshit, and we can do it differently. And so we're really trying to boil it down to, how do we get the right people in the room, understand the work and the level of effort, price it appropriately so that everyone wins, and we start growing our digital footprint. Digital media, visible content. Every small business needs to know how to do it today, and we've got to make it approachable.
Did you notice a difference in your viewership or listenership when you went to video?
Yeah, I've gotten a lot more engagement going to video. It just is reached differently. YouTube does a great job of giving you analytics, but it's a better conversation starter. The clips that I can send out generate more engagement and traffic. So I think it's been a positive move.
Somebody's watching an episode of the Building Texas show on YouTube. What are they seeing? Are they seeing 2 or 3 people talk to each other? Is that what they're seeing?
No, they're seeing me typically interview one person.
But I mean, what is the visual? It's 2 people talking?
2 people talking over a desk table in a nice looking studio, and just, it's pretty basic. But you see the emotion. You see me talk with my hands a lot. You get to know the person differently. I think we, especially now, live in this world of instant go, go, go. And we're visual people. We scroll the death scroll, right? And it'll pop out, whereas it won't if it's just audio. We won't see it.
So you put these clips everywhere?
Starting to. I think it's a better connection. It's a better relationship with the audience. I think it's an important piece of how we tell the story and where we put it out. So we put it out on Facebook. LinkedIn is where our biggest audience is.
How is that possible? LinkedIn sucks so bad.
It's terrible, but I've been consistent there, and it's the business community. And I think the business community is really starved for connection and real conversation. Well, sad thing is we didn't even get to fun stories.
Yeah, you know what that means, right?
We got to come back.
Yeah, we've got to do another one. So tell everybody where they can find the Building Texas show.
So you can find us on the website. It's buildingtexasshow.com. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok.
And YouTube.
And YouTube, The Building Texas Show.
It's the same across all the platforms, The Building Texas Show.
The Building Texas Show, yep. And really that's our big push. And we've got 43 subscribers currently, so look to grow that number. But I tell you, those 43 people, when I look at them and understand who they are, they're movers and shakers in their industries. One of them is the CEO of an $8 billion engineering company. And for my founders, when I highlight what they do and somebody like that is watching the video, they can make all kinds of introductions. So I'm never going to be 100,000 views, but I'm really proud of the audience that we've curated, the trust that they give me with Das Greenhaus, with the Angel Network, and there's really connecting across the state, if not the country. And that's where I serve. Like I want to be a platform that says great things are happening everywhere. I'm not beholden to Boerne or Kendall County. I want to see the innovation that's happening in Fort Stockton, Midland, Del Rio, and bring it to the forefront and say, y'all need attention too.
So you don't specifically focus on the Texas country. You do stuff for all of Texas?
Yeah. So in October, we'll start talking about the space industry. So I have an interview with an astronaut coming up, Jack Fisher, Two Fish. I got to touch the next lunar rover.
Sounds dirty when you say it.
Yeah.
I had a astronaut on for my 200th episode.
That's awesome.
Astronaut Scott Kelly.
Oh, love it.
He was the commander of the
his
International
twins.
Space Station. His twin brother,
Yeah.
who was a senator.
Two Fish was great. I walked through his company with him. He knew everybody. He was shaking hands. And they're NASA trained media, right? So they know how to interview. But I was so blown away by Two Fish. And I mean, this is a guy that flew F-22s, F-35s. He spent 136 days in space. So, but we're highlighting companies like his that are the future of work, and they need investment too. I talked to a guy named Bryce at Novium Designs. They build robots that are going to go up and service and restore satellites. So think of a truck stop for satellites.
Sure.
They grab it, they break it apart, new fuel, new camera, new memory, send it back on its way. I had no idea that was happening. Didn't know it was happening here in Texas. So
I thought they just, once it outlived its usefulness, we just kind of threw it away. And
that's what we do.
And just spend another $40 billion to put another one.
10 years and $500 million a satellite. And so we can change that. And I'll be releasing that video in October. So no, not just the whole country, although I think we have something really special to celebrate here. I want to find those stories all across the state and highlight Perryton, Texas. I know there's some incredible stuff happening there.
It's not a real place.
Yeah.
Okay, so I asked you where the show is. Who's the show for? Who's your target audience?
So my audience based on survey.
No, who's your target? What's your goal? I don't care who's listening right now. Who do you want to listen to? Who are you making this show for?
So a couple answers. I want founders to watch the show and be inspired by the stories of success.
Founders of successful companies.
Entrepreneurial founder. It doesn't have to be successful. It could be a founder that's just starting out.
Okay.
I want them to be able to see founders telling their story of hardship and overcoming in that first investment round. I want them to see and be inspired by that. And then I want investors to be watching the show and say, well, that's a cool early company. I need to reach out to them. And I'm going to reach out through the Building Texas show and get connected to how can I play a part in the Texas commercialized space industry.
Are you pretty forthcoming with people reach out and want to make a connection? You're happy to facilitate?
Yeah, and for the right connections, for sure.
Sure.
I won't give my network a lot of noise. I'll filter the noise. But if you're a serious person that wants to have a conversation with one of the guests, I'm happy to facilitate that where it's appropriate. And I want invested in the website, invested in the marketing engine, because I want it to be a place that connects people.
A community.
Yeah, there's people that are new here and want to understand how it works. They want to get involved. And here might be Texas, right? They're new. Well, what is this state park coming? Well, I have an interview with Texas Parks and Wildlife talking about how they're growing their state park system over the next 5 years in a huge way. And they really want you to have a state park within a 3-hour drive. So now you can think about, well, where is that? Here. Well, there's one right here on 46. There's one the other way. All kinds of places to volunteer, get involved. So I said I want founders to listen. I want investors to listen. And then I want students and families to hear the civics conversations. Go out and vote. Go out and understand where do you get your water? Do you live in a city or a county? And if you're saying, oh no, I don't know, you should. And I'm sorry to put it so bluntly. If you don't, and you're a keyboard warrior out here complaining about what the city's doing to you, you look foolish. And you could avoid that by simply talking to your elected officials and understanding who they are.
Justin McKenzie, until next time, dude, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day and your hectic angel investing day to hang out and let us get to know you a little bit better on Fascination Street, man. I really appreciate it.
I'm thrilled by what you're doing and who you're talking to, and thank you for coming in. I hope you'll join us in our ecosystem here.
I don't know, maybe. We'll see what happens. Thanks, man.
Opening music is the song FSP Theme, written, performed, and provided by Ambush Ven. closing music is from the song Say My Name off the 2021 album Underdog Anthems, used with permission from Jack's Hollow. If you like the show, tell a friend. Subscribe and rate and review the show on iTunes and wherever else you download podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. All the episodes are available there as well. Check me out on Vero at Fascination Street Pod and TikTok at Fascination Street Pod. And again, thanks for listening.